Hey, what's going on, guys? It's Hezron here, and today we're gonna talk about the Canon EOS R6 Mark III. Before we start this video, just want to say that this video is indeed being recorded on the Canon R6 Mark III at 4K fine, 30 frames per second in XF AVCS 422 10-bit with the Canon RF 24-70 f2.8L lens. You've got a nice key light here, a nice RGB circular key light, and then you've got this kind of like RGB light behind me to do like the kind of, you know, the behind light to give myself a little bit of depth, and that's how you're getting the quality. Now, in order to help you and I review the R6 Mark III, I kind of want to tell you about my journey of cameras, okay? There's a lot more cameras than what I'm going to say, but these are the main ones, and then this will help to explain where we are at with the Canon R6 Mark III. So I started off my journey with the Canon EOS 700D back in 2016, okay? That camera had 1080p, 30 FPS. And yeah, it was a good start. I used it for YouTube, you know. I wanted to upgrade to something a bit better than, you know, the little crappy point and shoot camera that I had before. So that was my first like proper camera, if that makes sense. Then in 2020, when lockdown happened, I had to buy the Canon EOS 90D for my brand new company, Hezron Productions. I am in fact a company owner, okay? I run a company called Hezron Productions where we do videos, photos, documentaries, and now a reality TV show, the whole works. I had no other way to make money. We are a COVID baby, I had to do this. And in the end, it turned out to be a good thing for me because we are really successful with Hezron Productions. So here is the Canon EOS 90D. And this got us through 2 years, okay? This camera shoots in 4K 30 FPS and it has a 32 megapixel camera on it, okay? And this is the first camera I thought, wow, this is kind of professional because it has this kind of like, you can see all the settings at the front, the top dial. And then it's got this rear dial with the spinny thing. And for those of you that don't know, having the spinny thing was a sign of having a more professional camera. Because back then, only cameras like, you know, the 5D, the 6D, the 7D had the spinny thing. And I always was envious of cameras that could do it because you could just flick through the cameras while showing it to the client. And I've always thought it was just so cool. So yeah, this got us through 2 years in the company. And for a long time, this is the only camera that we could use. So I remember doing a wedding with George, one of the camera artists here at Hezron, and we shared this camera for a whole day to do both the video and the photos. You know, times were hard. It was a brand new company and money was low. And this got us through some excellent times. And really and truly, we built Hezron off this one camera alone. So yeah, really love this camera, man. This got me through so much. I mean, I barely use it now, but this camera has so much sentimental value to me. At the time, it's all we could afford, but we made it work. It wasn't the best camera, but it was a tool that we had at hand. Even though for the most of the time that we had this camera, the R6 Mark I was out, you know, no client ever complained. They loved our work. And at the end of the day, guys, it's not about what camera you have, it's about how you use it, okay? Because I'm willing to bet I could use this camera today for most of my shoots and the client still wouldn't complain, okay? Is it the best camera that we have right now? No, but it's still a great camera, man. Beautiful. The Canon EOS 90D. Really good camera. Only thing with this one though is that it suffered purely because it's a ASPC. It suffers in low light doing photos, but the video is excellent. Okay, it's line skipped up to 30 FPS, but it looks good, man. But the problem with this camera, there's no 4K 60, okay? So then in 2022, I finally jumped over to the mirrorless platform on my first full frame camera, that was the EOS R6 Mark I, okay? And that was, I remember the night I bought it, I literally went out like with some of my friends that night and just, celebrated it, because it was an achievement. My first full frame camera, it was very expensive. It was almost £3,000. And going from this, which was £1,500, to a full frame camera, which was like 3,000, it was a big moment for us, and that changed the game instantly for us. One, you had 4K 60, so I just lapped that all up. I would record in 4K 60 for almost everything. The 4K 60 only had a crop of 1.06x, so it was barely noticeable, and it was just beautiful footage, man. The colors coming out of that, it was just different on a full frame. And then we had that nice background blur. At the time when I bought it, it only had Canon C-Log 1, but I couldn't even use it anyway because my computer at the time, which was only a Intel i7 MacBook Pro with a touch bar, it couldn't handle that footage. So I couldn't even touch, the C-Log. But, we got through so many weddings and so many different things on that camera. The photos, wow, excellent photos. But the only thing with that camera, it had a lot of overheating issues. So even in 4K 30, it would overheat in like 30, 40 minutes. If you're in a hot room, forget about it. So many times we did long form videos, I would have to like switch over to full HD. I remember doing like many videos for our Christmas concerts with Queensgate School in Kensington. After 30 minutes, switching over to full HD, and then you couldn't really take advantage of the benefit of using a 4K camera. Or when we were doing like highlight videos for like weddings or documentaries or whatever it might be, you'd have to actually think and pace yourself and, do a little minute there, stop, turn the camera off and just pace yourself. You couldn't just go all out. Even though the camera had great footage, that was its holdback, just purely the overheating issue. That is until the EOS R6 Mark II. And this changed the entire game, guys. This changed everything. I'm willing to bet that I could spend until retirement using this camera and this camera alone, and none of my clients would ever care. This camera is robust. It does it all. The overheating problems are gone. You can record in 4K 30 almost indefinitely. I've never seen it actually come up the overheating bar in 4K 30. Never. Okay? 4K 60, it's going to overheat at like, an hour and a half. I've never seen the overheat warning come on this doing 4K 60 ever in real world use. This camera just goes and it goes and it goes, has excellent battery life. Okay, you're going from 20 to 24 megapixels for photos, you can see a difference. Okay, there's a notable difference. It has this little clean little sheen towards it, which is like, just gives us a little bit of flavor. Okay, is the R6 Mark I better in low light? Yes. Okay, but this has this little sparkle, this extra little twang to it in the photos, which the R6 Mark I just can't do. And for videos, you're now oversampling from 6K as opposed to 5.1K in the R6 Mark I. And again, that gives it just a little bit more crispness, a little bit more clarity. It's very beautiful sensor on this camera. It just does everything you need to do with it perfectly. Great video, great battery life, great photos. You need nothing more for either or. Now, are there better features that this camera could have? Of course. And we're going to get into that later in this video. But what I'm saying is, I would be perfectly fine never to upgrade to any camera ever again for the rest of my career. Because this camera is just that robust, okay? And you can get these things brand new for about 1.6K now. It's absolute steal. We're coming to the point now in cameras where all cameras are now great, okay? All. Ever since the mirrorless revolution, all cameras are now great, especially for photos. Yes, is there room to improve a video? Yeah. But you know what? When people watch back your footage, no one cares except for you. You know, the creative genius who cares about every little pixel. But the average consumer, they're not seeing no difference in your footage. All cameras are great now. And it's great because anyone now can jump into this industry for cheapest chips. 1.6K, and you've got a camera which will last you literally a lifetime. Okay? It's such a good camera. Only thing I didn't like about this camera was dual SD cards. Okay? I wanted, CF Express. And no RAW and no codec options. But anyway, we're going to get into that right now with the R6 Mark III. Then so 2 years later, So I bought the R6 Mark II in 2022. Then I bought the R6 Mark III in 2026. So a whole 4 years later, we upgraded to the R6 Mark III. I've had the camera for a month now, okay? And there was other cameras in between. There's other cameras like the R7 and stuff, but I'm not going to get into that because that's not like, those are just like filler cameras. But the R6 III now was the next jump, okay? So at this point now, I have had all the mirrorless 6 series cameras, all of them. In fact, multiple of them, okay? We have more than one of each model, except for the R6 Mark III. So I am I can proudly say that I'm an R6, king. We've got loads of them in the company, loads. And these are our workhorses. We have found that the R5 Mark II is just too much for our needs or too little for our needs. So in terms of the 45 megapixel camera, we don't need that. It's too much megapixels. No one cares. Unless you're doing big, advertisements on the walls of New York Times Square. No one cares, okay? No one cares. Most content now is being watched on phones. If you're lucky, on a TV. No one cares. 45 is just way too much. That's going to make our workflow go slower. We're going to need more hard drives, more, cloud storage. Too much. And then the R5 Mark II, it hasn't even got 4K 60 fine. And that for us is just a no-no. So actually, out of all the mirrorless cameras, bar the R1, which would probably be too bulky anyway, and the R3, too bulky for our needs, the R6 fits the bill throughout everything, okay? So the R6 Mark III solves a lot of problems that the R6 Mark II has, okay? So for the first time, I now have CF Express, and whoa. The transfer speeds on those things, okay? Insane. And I used to think, who cares about transfer speeds, okay? I was one of those guys that used to buy V30 SD cards back in the day, because I thought, save the money. But if you actually run a production company or you do this full time, copying and saving files to hard drives and from the SD card or the CF Express card, that is the difference between going to sleep on time or not. That is the difference between finishing the work on time or not. Because you're spending so much time transferring data when you have so many projects that you can literally shave off hours off your work week just by having fast storage. So, wow, CF Express storage is amazing. I've got a card with 3,000 megabits write and read speed. Oh, glorious. Goes bang. There's no more waiting no more. And because my SD cards, you've got 2,000 megabyte per second, SD cards here. It can keep up. Well, in fact, the CF Express card is actually faster. Luckily, I was smart with it, guys. I expected this kind of RAM shortages and SD card shortages. So even though I didn't even buy the R6 Mark III in December of last year, I still prepared for it by buying one CF Express Type B card, okay? It was during the Christmas sales. It was £100, okay? For a 512 gigabyte CF Express Type B card with a 3,000 plus, because I think it's about 3,400 megabits per second write and 3,000 the other one read speed for only £100. You know, my biggest mistake was not buying two of them because, let me just check right now. The prices for SD cards and memory cards and RAM has just gone through the roof because of AI. That same card now is £263. Oof. It's almost 3 times the price of what I bought it for. Thank the Lord. I bought it when I bought it and I had the foresight. But I should have bought 2. Luckily, most jobs that we do, you know, I don't really go past 512 gigabytes. But when I do another documentary or reality TV show, I'm going to feel the pain. I'm really going to feel it. I'm just going to have to go and, you know, shoot with just one SD card by itself. I've got plenty of 512 gigabyte SD cards, but that's a bit of a risk because I love dual recording. So this camera now gets upgraded to a 32.5 megapixel resolution. And you know what, guys? In terms of photos, I really don't care, okay? Going from the 700D to 90D, big difference. Wow. Going from 20 megapixels to 24 megapixels with the Canon R6 Mark II, big difference. The colors just come out better. You can do a bit more cropping. It has a little bit more shine. But you know what? When I load up those 32.5 megapixel photos from my Canon R6 Mark III on my laptop, I can barely see the difference. 24 megapixels for me is more than enough. The only time where I care about 32 megapixels now is because if I crop, okay? And luckily, because I'm, you know, I would imagine, I hope to say this, I don't want to brag or anything or be arrogant, but I believe my photos are pretty good and I get the framing mostly right. I don't do like wildlife or anything. I mostly do things with people. So we barely have to crop at Hezitech, okay? You know, when my team uses the R6 Mark I and we post it on social media, the photos look just as great as anything else and no client will see the difference. So photos, I don't care about the upgrade. Now, obviously, the megapixel resolution bump does affect video. So now we have a 7K camera here now. And it is gorgeous, guys. Gorgeous. Okay, you got 7K RAW. You have all these options now where it's like, I'm barely going to use them, but it's just nice to have. It's like having a nice car that can go, you know, 150 miles per hour. And obviously you barely use it. But for those times where you want to just press the pedal a little bit down on the motorway and hit 100 like that and show off to your friends, it's a beautiful moment. It's great. And I remember when I first got the camera and I did my first test, oh my God, I zoomed in 4 times into 7K and the picture still looked amazing. Woof. Beautiful. It still looked like 4K, even when zooming in 4 times in 7K open gate. Beautiful. And of course with the open gate now, that changes the game because now I can do different framings. I can turn it into a square for social media and it gives me a lot more flexibility. Beautiful. And that 7K sensor now also means you can do oversampled 4K from 7K in their 4K fine mode, and it's beautiful. It's great. Without zooming in or anything, I would say it's almost as good as a 7K. It's a beautiful image. In fact, we're using it right now, and you can just see how clean and sharp it is. Of course, the only time you see the difference is when you zoom in, okay? You can't zoom in as nicely with this as, of course, with the 7K. Now, fortunately, it does come with a downside. And that downside is overheating's now back. It's back. I don't know what to say it, but that's the truth of it, okay? I can record in 4K 30 fine for about an hour before it overheats. Maybe an hour 20 if you're lucky. And that's fine for most things. But where it really suffers, guys, is in 4K 60. Within 25 minutes, you're overheating, guys. It's bad, okay? It's bad. That's the truth of it. The sensor's incredible. It's a beautiful sensor and it's working damn hard. Like, you have to see it to believe it. It's the biggest jump in sensor I've ever had, except from the 700D to the 90D. It's just something beautiful about the sensor that's like, wow. In fact, it's the same sensor as the Canon C50. the cinema camera. So in a sense, this is a cinema camera I'm using, and it's beautiful. I get it for cheaper, and I get the, what do you call it? The stabilization, which the C50 doesn't have. If the C50 had the stabilization, I would have bought it. Okay. And the difference between 8 stops and 8.5 stop stabilization, I noticed it straight away. It's just a bit easier to control and keep it smooth. Just a tiny bit easier. It's not huge, but you can just feel it as you just move the camera left and right. It's just a little bit easier to keep it leveled and smooth compared to the Mark II. I remember the days when Sony started their race with the mirrorless cameras, and they came out with 5 stops of stabilization for their cameras. And everyone was like, whoa, this is great, stabilization, woo! And now we've got 8.5, and this is just normal. Beautiful. Beautiful. Like I said, we're at the point now where all cameras are great. No matter where you go, Sony, Nikon, Fuji, they're all good. They're all beautiful. So yeah, it has overheating, but I found a way to manage that. So I bought this little thing, which is called the Ulanzi C001. And this is a fan. And it is incredible. You put it at the back of your camera. And it just slots in like this. Boom. And then it has about an hour of battery life, and you just press this button. And the fan turns on, okay? And then within a couple of minutes, the overheat bar goes away, and then you can go back to normal and record for the full time of recording without it overheating on the camera as usual. It is incredible, okay? It weighs barely nothing, and you can swap out batteries to it, okay? This cost me only £40, and it solved the problem, okay? It solved the problem. Now, this camera does not overheat. It's beautiful. You can put a USB into it, so it has unlimited battery life. So when you do your podcasts, and it's just great. Oh, it's just, because it has this little strip thing. I don't know the science behind it, but it keeps it cold, even when you're not even using it. It's just a brilliant. And in terms of how noisy it is, even when you record a podcast like this, because I did have it on for the last 5 minutes of this, and this thing barely makes a sound. So I'm going to go in its quieter setting. 1. And it barely makes a sound. Look at that. So this is my normal speaking voice, speaking in it. You can see how it's competing for what's being heard. If I stretch it out a bit further away, okay, you can barely hear it. And of course, in the real world, you'll have your camera a lot further than from your guest than this. And again, you only have to keep it on for a couple of minutes, maybe 3 to 5 minutes, before the camera totally resets its heat, temperature, battery life. It's beautiful. So problem solved. And you know what, guys? I like the extra weight coming out of this. It makes the camera more balanced, because I've got these big owl lenses in the front of my Canon R6. So usually the camera is front heavy. This makes it more back heavy. So in a way, it stabilizes the footage even more. So I love it. This pretty much turns the camera into a C50 in terms of battery life now. So yeah, brilliant. Now I have no problem with it. So yeah, 7K lasts for about 20 minutes without overheating. 4K 60 fine lasts for about half an hour. And then 4K 30 lasts for about an hour and 15, maybe an hour and a half if you're lucky, depending on, how hot it is. I did have to say though, I did do a shoot on it in a very, very hot room for a podcast, but I was doing behind the scenes footage kind of thing on 4K 60. And the camera got hot so quick, boom. But you know what, guys? It's a worthy upgrade. If you don't want to deal with overheating problems, get the R6 Mark II, and you'll live a good life. But the trade-offs for how good that sensor is in R6 Mark III, oof, I ain't never giving up, baby. Like, whoa, like it's good. And look, if you don't want to deal with the overheating problems, this is the good thing about the R6 Mark III. You have choices. You ain't got to record in 4K fine. You can record in 4K standard. And look, the average person will not care, okay? If no one tells you that it wasn't recorded in 4K 60 fine, you wouldn't really know, okay? Look, the difference is there when you see it side by side, but if you just engross yourself into whatever you're watching, the difference goes away. These things are only noticeable for us because we're like pixel peepers, because we care about the quality. But the difference between 4K fine and the normal standard 4K, you can live. So what you can do is just record in 4K fine until it starts overheating, okay, which is a long time anyway, and then just drop it down to 4K normal for a bit, and you go back and forth until your shoot's done, okay? So yeah, it's a really good camera, man, and you have other options. So you've got the 4K fine, the 4K normal, you've got the 4K U, which says more pixels going horizontally, so it makes it more of a cinematic look, okay? Then you have different codec options. You've got the 10 bits, the 8 bits, along with either HVEC or AVCS, okay? So MP4 files, MP5 files, these things are easier to edit on, depending on which choice that you use. Then you've also got long op, or for the first time in the R6 camera, you've got all intra, okay? And then you've got 3 types of all intras, okay? You've got the low quality all intra, which honestly looks as good as the long op, but it's easier to edit on. You've got the standard all intra, and then you've got the kind of superior all intra, which is 600 megabytes per second in 4K 30, and I'm using that right now because I don't even need to use it, but because I mean nothing as much as moving. We don't need the extra bit right here, and the colors are pretty good. It's 10 bits, so we're good. But this camera's like, you know, it's there, so why not? Obviously, it's a lot more storage, but because this is like a YouTube video, it's a throwaway kind of thing, I'm gonna just, you know, not care about it anyway and use it. You know, it'll be gone. Like, I don't care. This camera makes you realize, you know, you can just do stuff just because you can, not because you need it. It's over the top, okay? This is the first camera which I've got, which is like, I feel like, whoa, now I understand the hype of, you know, cinema cameras, because for a long time, the quality of cinema cameras and mirrorless cameras or whatever have been very close. But it's not really about that. It's about the options that cinema cameras give you. And one of those options is the codecs, the frame rates, the types of long op or intra, And now that I've had it and I'm using it, going back to the R6 Mark II, which is limited on those choices, is very hard. Because the only way, for example, you're getting 10-bit 422 with the R6 Mark II is if you use C-Log 3. And for a long time, I thought those things were attached. But actually, no, it's not attached. It's just the flaw of this camera. You can do 422 in 7K open gate. You can do 422 in 1080p, 4K, standard color profile, Canon log 2, Canon log 3, whatever. The option is yours. This camera, the R6 Mark III, gives you the options. You can do whatever you want. Okay, even 7K open gate, you can record that standard color profile. You can record that in RAW. Oh my God, it's crazy. It's nuts. Even just saying that is nuts, because for a camera that's only £3,000 to get RAW and 7K is like, whoa. It's just like I still would have bought this camera even if it didn't have RAW. Like, I'll be real. Now, if it didn't have the 7K, I probably wouldn't have bought it, because what's the point? But if it didn't have RAW, I really don't care. But it's there. You can now use it. It's there if you want it. It's a crazy amount of data, but it's there. This camera says, you know what? Bun it. It's there. Let me just use it. You know, that's the kind of mindset you have with this camera now. You have the options. And that's something the R6 Mark II didn't have. It's flawed. I realize now the hype between cinema cameras. It's flawed because you don't have those options. So depending on what kind of thing you're doing, you know what? Maybe I'll use long op 8-bit for this. Okay, maybe now for this one, this podcast, I'll use 422, HVEC, you know, C-Log 2, you know, all intra. You know, I have the options. The options are fully in my control. And that's something I've never had before on the R6 Mark II. It's a phenomenal camera. Phenomenal. The colors. And C-Log 2. Don't get me started on C-Log 2. The highlight roll-offs, the color clarity, the way it's a smoother experience. Now, the only downside of C-Log 2 compared to C-Log 3 is, okay, on higher ISOs, you have that kind of, you know, bit more noise in the shadows. But apart from that, if you're shooting below like 3200, oh God, this C-Log 2 is just like, oh my God, like so bloody beautiful. I'm staying with that. But the only problem with C-Log 2 is that's the only camera that I have with C-Log 2. When I'm recording with more members of my team, I'm going to have to use C-Log 3 now because that's what they have. Unless I want to make it long and record in both. It's a hassle, but I could do that. And this is what's making me now want to get another R6 Mark III. But oh God, it's just... The camera is so good, you want to upgrade everything else in terms of video. Now, if I was only doing photos, would I upgrade to the R6 Mark III? Hell no, don't need it. Don't need it. In fact, I might have even stayed on the R6 Mark I. The upgrades for all of the R6 mirrorless camera series is in the video. Photos have been great since the beginning of mirrorless. The video upgrades are going to be good. So, yeah, it's a really good camera. I'm thinking, what else is better on this camera? The autofocus is slightly better. Not hugely, but it's better. The R6 Mark II's autofocus is already great. Don't really care about anything else with that. The viewfinder and the LCD. Okay, now here's what some people think is the issue, okay? The viewfinder and the LCD are the exact same resolution and size, okay? You know what? Obviously, I wanted more, but you know what? There's a benefit to it because, okay, if there was a better resolution LCD and viewfinder, one, battery life would suffer, okay? And I'll be honest with you guys, the battery life is not as good as on the R6 Mark II, okay? This isn't scientific, but I would say I'm getting about 20 to 30% worse battery life on the R6 Mark III compared to the R6 Mark II, okay? It's just doing so much with that 7K sensor. It's taxing it so much. It's not as good battery life wise. But again, if they had put on a better viewfinder and a better LCD, it would be even worse, okay? I can't lie, I have been looking forward to getting a 3.2 inch LCD as compared to a 3 inch, because I have seen people with the R5 and it's like you get just a little bit more, you can see it just a little bit more through the viewfinder. It's just a better experience, but it is what it is. It would have ruined battery life. And then also, let's keep it a buck, it would have been more expensive. For what you're getting on this camera, this R6 Mark III, for the same starting price point, I think, maybe about £100 more, can't remember. The R6 III is a steal. It's such a good camera. It's, oh my God, I just can't get enough of it. It's just beautiful. And then the OS as a whole just feels a little bit more snappier than the R6 Mark II. Going into, you know, Bluetooth with your phone and connecting it and uploading the data and downloading photos from it, just a little bit quicker, a little bit more of a easier process to jump into. With the R6 Mark II, when I was connecting it to my phone, sometimes it would have errors, With this camera now, you just press boom, you're in. It's like, it's so quick, so snappy. And then you've got this tally light, which is such a quality of life feature. Do you need it? No, okay? But for example, there has been one time when I was recording a video on my R6 Mark II for this podcast here, where it went to red on the battery life, okay, on the screen. But because I'm recording by myself here and I'm looking directly into the lens, okay, I'm not really looking at the screen. So I didn't even notice that it was on red, okay? And then the camera switched off by itself. Luckily, the footage still was saved, but it's an annoyance. Whereas, you know, this is the second time I've recorded a podcast with this R6 Mark III. And the first time it didn't run out of battery because we recorded for 50 minutes only. But this time, it went to red. And the tally went flashing, boom, boom, boom. And it was so obvious to see. And I changed the battery instantly. So that was a beautiful feature. And then obviously, I think it just looks good for clients to see this kind of big red thing going at them, and they know that recording is now in progress. So it's a nice little thing to have. Again, do you need it? But it's there, kind of thing. And that kind of summarizes the R6 Mark III. It's overkill for your needs, but bun it. It's there. Use it. And I, for one, have had a great time with the camera. I'm loving the camera. It's suiting my needs very well. And you know what, guys? Through all the cameras that I've bought, okay, 700D, 90D, R6 Mark 1, 2, 3, R7, I have never, ever, ever regretted it. Each camera has upgraded my life and made things either easier or the quality better in some way, shape or form. And wow, I just can't wait to see where Canon goes. Now, if they follow the same release pattern, we're going to get the Canon R6 Mark IV, okay? And I'll be there on release day buying that, because I love, as you can see, I love my R6, What they're going to do is put a fan in there. That is definitely coming. The R5 Mark III and the R6 Mark IV will definitely, I'm telling you right now, it will have fans in them, because this is a problem, okay? And they're going to get rid of it on the next release. Otherwise, what's the point of upgrading, right? Okay, the R6 Mark IV, I'm telling you right now, okay, they're going to upgrade the resolution on the viewfinder and on the LCD and make it into a 3.2 inch, because there's nothing much they can really do to upgrade from here. I don't really want the R6 Mark IV to jump in resolution to get 8K. It's just too much. I just don't need it. Again, would it be nice to have these things? Yeah, but I'm very happy with 7K. Like, it's more than enough for my needs. In fact, I haven't even got a TV or a laptop that has 7K, so I actually haven't seen the full power of this camera yet, because I can't even view it in its full native resolution. So I hope they keep the resolution exactly the same and just do things that make it a bit easier to use, like give us dual CF Express Type B cards. Okay, that's annoying. Okay, I think if you're doing one type of media formats, just do it all across the board. I hate this thing about having either or. Okay, I hope they just keep it at 7K and just put a fan on there, and that is the perfect camera. Okay, if they could put in dual microphones, like dual 3.5mm microphone jacks, oh, that'd be great. Okay, I don't really need XLRs. Okay, it'd be nice to have when I eventually get a cinema camera, but what I would rather have is a dual 3.5mm microphone jack there. So that way I could have two wireless systems, lapel systems, and with each system you can put on two, one on each stereo track, right? And so that means I could have 4 different tracks going into one camera, and that would help with the reality TV programming and the documentaries that we make here. Or you could do one system and like a shotgun mic or whatever, instead of using the scratch audio. And by the way, the scratch audio on this R6 Mark III has improved. That's one thing about Canon, guys. The scratch internal microphone has improved every single time. It's noticeable. It's a really good camera. If you speak really close to it, it just sounds really, really good. And the Canon R6 Mark III now has 24-bit 4-channel audio, as compared to the R6 Mark II 16-bit 2-track. Okay, and when I bought it, I thought, wow, this is great. I can use a wireless mic, a DJI with 2 mics attached to it, plus the scratch audio. But no. Canon crippled it, okay? They only allow you to use both tracks for 2 different things if one of those attachments goes directly into that kind of like hot shoe mount at the top right there. So for example, if you use like a Canon shotgun mic, you can use that with either the scratch audio or with the mic jack, okay? You can't use the mic jack and the scratch audio together. Canon crippled it, okay? So in the R6 Mark IV, they're going to change that, I'm sure, and maybe even give us 32-bit float. In fact, I'm almost guaranteeing that will come up on the 5 Series Mark III. It may come in the R6 Mark IV if we're lucky. this camera also has dual ISO at 6400. Okay, they haven't actually said that, but when you go to dual ISO 6400 on this camera, even when when you turn your camera on with the lens with the cap on and it's just dark, you can just scroll up the ISOs and you can see it progressively have more noise after ISO 800. But as soon as it hits 6400, boom, a lot of noise, like half the noise just disappears. So unofficially, this is a dual native ISO camera in my opinion. Well, it's not in my opinion, it's what I see. It's there. So maybe in the future we'll get 32-bit. I mean, in the future we'll get a triple base ISO, I'm asking for a lot here. Again, these are things that you don't need, but you know what? Why not? It's there. And then of course, to make this camera really good, okay, at some point they will put, okay, ND filters into these cameras. It's coming. Because these camera companies are realizing there's such little things to do for upgrades now, okay? Because these cameras are already great. So they're going to have to put in these cinema features that they've had and they've, locked up for their cinema line into these mirrorless cameras at some point, because there's nothing else to add. For photos, these cameras are already great. For videos, in terms of the resolution, we're already there. You're already getting 7K resolution out of a 3K camera. What more do you want? So they're going to give us stuff like ND filters. They might even put an XLR port on there one day. I don't think anytime soon, but I think it's coming. I really think it's coming. Because the gap between mirrorless cameras and cinema cameras is ever shrinking. And the prices are coming down. I remember when they released a cinema camera. I can't remember which one it was, but back in 2015 or so. I think it might be the C300 Mark II or the C500 Mark I, something like that. And it was £30,000. And this is the only way at that time to get 4K on a Canon camera. £30,000 just to get 4K cameras. Okay, now we're at the point where your prosumer professional camera is now getting you 7K RAW for just £3,000. Yeah, it has overheating, but like I told you, it has ways to overcome that. The game has now changed. This is, with the exception of the overheating, a perfect camera, just again, okay? And I am completely happy with my purchase. So if you've got the R6 or R6 Mark II and you only do photos, I would say don't upgrade to the R6 Mark III. Don't need it. The photos on any mirrorless camera system from Canon is good. I'm willing to wager if I got the R10 right now and that was the only camera I had for photos, I could still get professional work and my clients would love the work just the same. Okay? But in terms of video now, this video is bussin', baby. Oh, this video is good. This video is hot. This video is smooth. I mean, look at me right now. C-Log2. I am over the moon with this camera. Zero regrets. Like I said, the only thing bad about this camera is the overheating. But that problem can be solved with a £40 device. One thing I forgot to mention in this video was that you have 4K 120 now. Really, really good. In terms of the quality drop, because it's line skipped, it's not the full readout of the sensor. Again, as professionals, we're going to see the difference, okay? But if you just engross yourself into the film, I put in a few splashes of 4K 120 into a recent documentary that I did, okay? You just can't tell the difference when you just watch it, It's still nice. It's still, I would say the 4K 120 on the R6 Mark III is as good as a normal 4K 30 on the 90D. And that's still a good image, okay? But here's the real problem with the 4K 120, where Canon crippled it, okay? Like I told you, I love to do dual recording, so I have a backup of everything that I record. When I went out into the field and did my first job with this, which is a documentary, I wanted to go into 4K 120. Canon didn't allow me to do dual recording with 4K 120. I had to take out my SD card and turn off dual recording and put it to normal mode, and then it would now appear 4K 120. It just doesn't allow you. Canon crippled it there as well. So when I do 4K 120 now, I have to take the risk and record it to only one device. And in actuality, have I ever lost movie recordings ever from an SD card. Never, not even once. But, you know, when you're doing stuff at the level that I'm doing, you just don't want to risk it, even if it's never happened before. Because clients are paying all this money, you know, I'd rather have the dual recording. But like I said, it's only for 4K 120 stuff that this happens. In 7K, you can record dual. But apart from that, the overheating and the 4K 120 dual recording problems, this camera, in my opinion, is perfect for my needs. Guys, my name is Hezron Springer. I'll see you in the next one. Cheers for now.